Hello again. Welcome back, everyone. Here we are with Ophiel and Jay Bethel for Chapter 10. This book's really been coming along nicely. We're loving it. It's Monday. That's the day it is. I don't know what day it is for you, but for us here, it's Monday. In this space-time. Perhaps for you, it's wherever it is, we wish you well. Okay, chapter 10. It is, that's right, the second return to ritual. The Four Winds. And some more information on Kabbalah. Great. This kind of stuff we like. That's why we're here. It's a hope. Alright. So again, hope you're well. Thank you for being here. It's a blessing to have you here. Be sure to hit that like button, share, subscribe. You know these fun games. We play tic-tac-toe, pet rock, paper, scissors, engagement. Chapter 10. Second return to ritual. The Four Winds, Kabbalah. We will now return to the ritual for additions. You will recall you had progressed in the ritual to the place where you were performing a ritual within a circle of blue flames, and with 4 stars in the same blue flames. Now, we will proceed with another addition to this ritual. We will now consider a very important occult information addition to our store of occult knowledge, and this you will get nowhere else that I know of. This knowledge is the knowledge of the Greek god system pantheon's conception of the winds, the 4 winds. Now, at first glance / consideration, this just does not sound like anything. 4 winds, so what? However, the higher inner circle of masters of the ancient Greek religions knew something, yeah they did, about the 4 elemental forces and their 4 winds. And this recovered knowledge I will pass on to you as best I may. You are not only going to know about the 4 winds, but use them. The 4 winds are also called, in the occult, the 4 airs. You will recall that the elemental force of air is movement or movability. You will recall that the elemental let's reread it. You will recall that the elemental air is movable. Oh, for some reason I thought I screwed up. Oh, sorry, now I did for sure. You will recall that elemental air is movable, and so is elemental fire, and so is elemental water. But the movability of earth is not apparent so easily. Why is that, Ophiel? Why? However, the movability of the elemental earth is there in the feel of solidity and beingness, which is really all the movability elements earth could have. Meditate on this until you understand it. The 4 winds have names, and, in accordance with a long-established human tendency principle, are personified in the Greek pantheon of the family of gods. There is a picture of one of the winds, Boris, on page 72 of your Gaily, which I hope you got and read. Still have not read that one, I feel sorry. But if any of you have, link the picture if you can. The names of the 4 winds are, first, the Greek name, and then the Roman name, which, for some reason, was always different. Starting with the east wind, the name of the east wind was Eurus, no Roman name. The name of the south wind was Notus or Auster. The name of the west wind was Zephyrus or Favonius. And, most important to you, the name of the north wind was Boreas or Aquilo. Each of these winds are connected with an elemental quarter and represent the moving quality of the elemental force of the quarter. The vehicle, as it were, that carries the force of that elemental quarter referred to. Now, we come to an important next step. The how we are going to use this knowledge of the four winds in applying it to the workings of the ritual. You will therefore add the following material to your practice of the ritual, which I hope you are doing once in a while. I assure you, the more you do or perform the ritual, the more you advance in the occult. The ritual, as you are now doing it, consists of some words and actions. The actions consist of making 4 stars. And a circle of blue flames, while repeating the accompanying ritual words. The changes you will add at this point are as follows. As you make a star at a quarter, starting with the east quarter, you will then pause before going on with the next star quarter and gaze into the flaming star. You then name and call out the wind of that quarter. Name him and call him out. Then you feel the wind of that quarter coming from the other side of the star and touching your face. Each wind will have a different feel. Eurus, the east wind, will feel cool, with early dawn freshness on your face. Notice the south wind will be warm to hot and fragrant with spices and flowers of the tropics. Zephyrus, the west wind, will be cool and with a drizzle damp tingle to him as he hits your face. Come here. My cat is out of heat, by the way, update. So she probably won't be quite as noisy. And that's why she wasn't in the last one either. Come here. Come here. Alright, there she is. Okay, you wanna help me? You wanna help me read? So beautiful. You're such a sweet girl. Okay. Yeah, we're reading again. That's right. What you up to, huh? All right. Where were we? We gotta find our place back. Where were we? Oh, new subscriber. Thank you. Okay, so anyway, we were in the feeling them out, feeling out them feelings of the winds. Each wind, south was spices, tropic, Zephyrus, that's right. Zephyrus, the west wind, will be cool and with a drizzle damp tingle to him as he hits your face. The north wind, Boreas, will be cool to cold as he touches your face. Keep practicing with your imagination until you master these feelings so you can actually feel these winds while doing the ritual. He may go into it. He may not. We'll see. If not, another good way would be to, each of those is also associated with the season. So that eastern one that's cool with the early dawn freshness is going to be spring. That south one, warm with the fragrant spices, summer. West, cool with the drizzle and damp, fall. And then north with that cool to cold, winter. So if you kind of add that aspect to it as well. Okay. We will now end the previous section on the ritual and return to the subject of the Kabbalah and the Tree of Life diagram, again for some more study. After which we will return again to the ritual and then probably for the final time, which should make you glad, I hope. The Kabbalah. The way we are going to study it is a way of thinking followed by a way of doing. In your work on the ritual up to now, you have been doing right along. I must stop and make a note here, which I will also treat in the foreword. I hope you will not be misled by the informal manner in which I have written so far. I am trying to make this work easy to comprehend. I am not trying to hide in mysterious terms and phrases, or to make it sound like a religion or something greatly profound, not worthy of common words. Truth itself is very simple. It is the ramifications that are complex. One more time. Truth itself is very simple. It is the ramifications that are complex. There you go. Also, see, there you go. Ophiel, exactly. He said it himself earlier in this book that words, the definitions of words are very important, especially in a magical context. But then he's also sitting here saying, I don't care to use a bunch of big words and confuse people and all of that, because I actually want people to understand this. Whereas there are some other authors I've read that do the thing he's saying. They've got, there's lots of things hidden code-wise or in some in poetic type of phrasing, and not to say that there's not still that the truth in there, but they're going ahead and making that truth complex. So now you're getting that double dose of complexity. So now we are going to study a part of the Kabbalah. The diagram part, which you will make, draw, and paint, is called the Tree of Life and is, I repeat, a part of the system of thinking called the Kabbalah. We will not be able to go too far into this Kabbalah Tree of Life study, as no single book could be big enough, nor, indeed, one lifetime long enough to cover that fully. I am going to make the best effort I am able to make to introduce you to this great subject and to get you started thinking along these lines, which line of thinking, followed by doing, can make new man or women out of you, can make a new man or woman out of you. You might have had some of the material before. You had some already in this book, maybe in other books, but never mind. Hold on to what you got and just go over it again and reassimilate it all over again with the herein additions. And also do this in your reading study of my next book. The following material contains the background framework of magic that is in existence, and it is all natural, and it is the following and allowing following of this pattern that was and is called magic. As I said, the following and allowing following has now, in this modern age, become somewhat automatic and is followed naturally by large numbers of men and women in its outer aspects. Once though you have an inkling as to the pattern underlying all things, you can get in a position to do something good for yourself about it. I also want to get a note down here that there is also a negative tree which is just the opposite to the positive tree, and which must be taken into account all your life. No thing can exist alone. It must have an opposite, a double, like a reflection, like a shadow. Science fiction writers have long written about a concept which they call negative matter. And now I know today's scientists have taken this idea up and not only are looking for, but have found some trace of negative matter in their researches. It would seem that every act of your being creates another kind of opposite act, like, as said, an image in a mirror, out there somewhere. To proceed, you will draw and paint a diagram of the tree of life, or rather two of them. You will keep these diagrams in your private room in a private space. You will use them constantly for meditative purposes, which, as I said before, will have no end. As a footnote, making a tree of life diagram was mentioned before, but that time I meant for you to make only one diagram and color it in the queen scale, and only the same size as was given in the back and front covers of the referred to book. This time, make two diagrams and make them 2 or even 3 times the size as given. Color these trees in both king and queen scales and use them for meditation symbols as directed. You can increase the size of these diagrams by using your dividing compass and setting it accordingly by increasing the size of the given diagram settings. Okay. You'll find the diagrams for the tree of life on the inside covers, front and back, of my book, The Art and Practice of Astral Projection. Make the outline diagram twice the size as given in the book. And you do this by setting your measuring compass twice the size as given in the referred to book. We expect to keep on hand the necessary drawing materials for doing this, and your other drawing and painting work. And as you have done some work up to now as already given in this book, you should have most of the necessary equipment on hand from that work. Proceeding accordingly, you will draw and paint 2 diagrams of the Tree of Life. Paint the first in the king scale and the other in the queen scale, using 2 large pieces of artboard for these diagrams. When you have finished these diagrams, sit down and study them. You will find you have drawn 2 diagrams, each consisting of 10 circles. The circles have names, and, in fact, each circle has many different names, and also many names in different languages. Check these names in Dion Fortune's book. I won't repeat them, although the basic names are in Hebrew. In addition to these basic Hebrew names, the circles have, attached to them, the different names of the different gods. Of many different gods. The subject of gods is a huge subject and extremely difficult to handle, especially in such a small beginning type book as this. Also, we have been trained since our beginning days in religion study to believe in only one God. We are rather shocked to be faced with the possibilities of there being a multiplicity of gods at large in the universe. Attend, all caps now, all caps for anybody who is just listening along this paragraph here, or most of this paragraph it looks like. Attend to the following carefully. Big secret. You have already learned that the circles on the Tree of Life consist of combinations of the elemental forces, or of the elemental forces in combination with each other, These combinations of the elemental forces are the gods, and that is all there is to them. The gods are only forces. This knowledge has not been given out too freely before. Boom. All right, that's a good spot for a quick mic drop, because I think my cat wants a little food. So, 1 second. Hey, you hungry? No? Okay. Mission accomplished. How are all of you? Any of you need a snack? Have you eaten today? Are you fueling your body? Are you hydrating your body? Are you cleaning your body? I mean, it's none of my business, really. But you should take care of yourself. It's important. He said before he hits the vape and takes a drink of soda pop. That's okay. Because guess what? Ophiel's unlocking it all right now. So I hope you're really paying attention. Some people at the top of the old religions in ancient days knew a few things about gods, but they were few and far between. The masses were grossly ignorant, and the dressing of images and stories/myths were about the only way the masses could be reached, and thus they could still be benefited even if they knew from nothing about the basics. In this book, we will adhere to the Greek and Hebrew god systems with some additions from some others, and in your future readings and research work, whenever you hear of a strange god, study him and make your own determination as to what Sephiroth, your new god, belongs. You do this by finding out what the new god is associated with and what he does, and also consult your mystical Kabbalah at all times. Okay, I don't think we need to worry about reading that little Samuel Weiser footnote. You have used this book up to now, and I will refer to it again and again in the future. Dion Fortune has gone into the Kabbalah very exhaustively, and I could never duplicate her work as it now stands, nor would I try, nor would it be necessary, as she has done it so well for your study and advancement in understanding. I only intend to supplement her work with the things that I have discovered in my workings and studies based in part on her books, and which have worked for me or led to interesting possibilities of more work. Hey, what's up? In fact, I might as well say here at this point that I can give you very little in the way of working development. Dion Fortune can give you very little in the way of working development. All you can get is a sort of pattern development in your personality, which pattern is up to you to develop further. No one can do it for you but yourself. And don't look for any masters either. There are none. And if you find one, he won't help at all. In fact, he is likely to give you a brush off you won't forget. No one can help you but your own self, and by your own efforts. So go to it. Even if a master helped you, it would still do you no good until you did all the work yourself. The/your occult development is one situation where outside help is of no help. So let us return to our diagram of the Tree of Life. The first circle Sephiroth is called Kether, which means crown or a crown, or more probably, the crown. Turn to page 109 in the Mystical Kabbalah. Well, I had it right here, I thought, but he wants to read Dion Fortune's excellent chapter 15 on Kether, the first Sephiroth. Please note where it is described as first movement, premium mobile, also first swirlings. Now turn to your Gaily, or whatever standard myth book you are using, and please note carefully the descriptions of the confusing attendant upon the creation of the world. Don't skip over these descriptions. Obviously, they are descriptions of unbalanced forces, forces not in equilibrium. I may have mentioned this before, but here goes again in more detail. Ancient man, and before that primitive man, not knowing much of anything or not knowing any better, personified all the forces of nature when some force of nature acted in a certain way, some way that he thought he recognized. Ancient and primitive man then personified the force in a certain form of some kind. These personified forms are a very important part of occult work, your future occult work, so pay some close attention to them. Study carefully the different first gods named by Gaily. Don't ask where they come from. Sort them out. Note their children. And also note that all this activity is connected with Kether, the birth pains, as it were, of the transition between spirit, air, into first matter. The root of name matter is possibly the same as name mother. Note the female goddess in the beginning stories and actions. The next Sephiroth is called Hokmah, wisdom. In the Hebrew and in Gaily is still a place of confusion. A very appropriate Greek name for this circle is the Greek chaos. The word chaos has a slightly different meaning than our usually accepted today's meaning, which is usually taken to mean a mixed up confusion. The actual Greek meaning of the word is gap. Chaos is a gap, and this is what Hokmah is, a space or space room in which a material universe can function. In your study of these myths, try to separate the early world creative stories from the other latter world creative stories. Kether from Hokmah. Monday evening, everyone. So far, so good on this one here. Loving it. That Four Winds part was a little more short-lived, but whatever. This is cool. Know how in these myths, order is gradually brought out of confusion, and conflicting forces are brought to order by the symbolic method of confining the personalized forces in chains underground. We can now proceed to the third Sephiroth, which is called Binah, understanding. This Sephiroth is associated with Saturn, and the age when Saturn ruled was called the Golden Age. There are also some female gods associated with Binah Saturn, and Remember what I told you about a god being female to those gods above and male to those gods below. Also, remember the lessons you had before wherein secret information was given to you about the disposition of the sacred elemental forces on the Tree of Life, the Tetragrammaton on the tree. According to this arrangement, Kether is air of air, Hokmah is water of water, is water of air, contraction of movement, and Bina, fire of air. Kether, air of air, would be movement of movement, material expansion. First material expansion, air is material even though light in nature. Let's spell, well, it says the word through. I'm pretty sure it's supposed to be though. Of a material universe. It then follows naturally the Bina would be fire of air, which would be, you recall, expansion, fire of air, movement, which should suggest to your mind the idea of the creation of a place where movement could be expanded in a direction of purpose, which all could suggest the nature of Saturn, the father of the gods. There's also an air of air, there's also an earth of air, and other earths of fire, of water, which we did not mention before, so please note the following. In each case, when it is the turn of earth to form a combination, the combination follows the combination of fire and occurs. At an imaginary place where the section of a letter of Tetragrammaton passes into the next letter of the Tetragrammaton. The next letter is the earth of the preceding combination. Thus, in the case of where we are now, the fire letter space of Tetragrammaton is the earth of air. Well, it's kind of hard to explain what he's meaning by that. I'm hoping he will. If not, I might be able to pull up a book and show a visual example. But I hope you get what he's meaning by kind of based on how you would rearrange the letters of Tetragrammaton. At least I believe that's what he's saying here. But perhaps I'm confused. But hold on. I'll go back one more time. So he says there is also earth of air and other earths of fire or of water, and other earths of fire of water, which we did not mention before. So please note the following. In each case, when it is the turn of earth to form a combination, the combination follows the combination of fire and occurs at an imaginary place where the section of a letter of Tetragrammaton passes into the next letter of the Tetragrammaton. The next letter is the earth of the preceding combination. Thus, in the case where we are now, the fire letter space of Tetragrammaton is the earth of air. To proceed, we next come down to the water of fire. This Sephiroth is called Hesed in Hebrew, and Zeus or Jupiter in Greek and Latin. We must mention here again that the right side, as you look at the Tree of Life, is called the male side, and the left side is called the female side. That is, as you look at the tree, the sides are said. However, when you put yourself into the tree, the positions become reversed, and the male side becomes the left side. The usual order in which the elemental forces are given are air, fire, water, earth, and you can note that we have been studying them in a different order somewhat. You will note when we went from air to water, however, when you put yourself into the tree, the direction becomes more correct. Also, please note that the looking right side is considered the male side and the left side the female side, or right positive and left negative. Also, you consider the right side the past, the middle line the present, and the left side the future. The right side being water, you can consider water as a sort of past feature. Chemically, water is already a product of and action in the past. It is, in a definite sense, burned already. And this surely suggests a past action rather strongly. Also, please note that the left side, the future side, is the element of fire side. Fire, expansion. Suggests a future action. Surely fire is not a past action in any way, shape, or form. If your house is going to burn down, it is in the future, not in the past. The middle line is the present, which always lies between the past and the future. And this line is air, the elemental forces of air, and air is movement, which is really all life is just movement. To continue our studies, we cross over to fire of fire, which has been called Mars in Roman and Ares in Greek. You have all heard the fiery nature of Mars, wars, passions, the fiery instruments of battle, gunpowder, expansion, explosives. All are governed by Mars, fire of fire, expansion, expanding expansion. I mentioned before that each god, what, huh? Come here. Hey. Hey. It's not her heat wine, it's just her saying, I want to hang out with you. Okay. I mentioned before that each god portrayed by a Sephiroth is also female to what is above and male to what is below. I want you to start looking for this combination in all these Sephiroth we have covered up to now, and in the future to come. I will tell you here that in the case of Mars, Greek Athena, Roman Minerva, is the female counterpart of the male Mars. Please look her up in your Gaily and other books. Start to make a classification of all the gods and see where they belong, to which Sephiroth they are attached to. Then we drop down to the sun, which is air of fire, movement, expansion, movement of expansion. I'm going to leave you to find the male and female gods of the air of fire. The sun is hot, hence the fire, but he also apparently moves rapidly. We now pass on into the earth of fire, which is the next section as aforesaid, and we come to Venus, which is water of water. Contraction of contraction. It is a little strange to find a female goddess on the male side of the tree, but remember, there is also a female god above in the Zeus section also. Remember Zeus's wife. Venus also had a husband, but the myths are a little confused about him, but look it up in Gaily. Also, look for another male counterpart to Venus. Both Zeus and Venus are considered fortunate in astrological horoscopes, and you can perceive how this can be so when you recall that this side of the tree is considered the past. All future good things must come from some past good things, exist in potential as it were, and Venus and Zeus are past in every sense. Please note, with the advent of Venus, we are getting lower on the tree and getting closer to Earth with each step down. We will now cross over to fire of water called Hermes in the Greek, or Mercury in the Latin. Here we have a sort of contradiction. Fire, expansion, and water, contraction. Fire, acting on water, expansion, acting on and contraction. You can describe this as force acting to move on a non-force type of potential, to make something out of potential resources. And does this not describe a human mind? A human mind with its memory bank of resources of the nature of the past, water, condensation, and its potential to make something out of it all, fire, expansion. Look up Hermes and Gaily. We will now drop down to the air of water, also called the moon. The gods of the moon are all female, although I did hear that the Aztec moon god was a male. Follow this moon section goddesses very closely in Gaily. Oh, come on there. I'm loving this. This is cool. Gives you a whole lot more to really work with. And I think that what he was explaining earlier is how sometimes you'll see, maybe you'll be looking through certain books and you'll see the Tetragrammaton, but you'll see it kind of arranged in all these different ways instead of the usual, the Yod He Vav He. You'll see it whatever, like Yod He He Vav, or Vav Yod He He. Kind of like all around, maybe a seal or on a talisman or something. So, pretty sure that's what he's talking about. Alright, so, then following again in the mystical Kabbalah, we will confine ourselves here to look at the elemental forces involved in air of water. Air is movement, and water is condensation, contraction. So the effect of these Sephiroth, is moving, condensation, contraction. One of the effects the moon has on the earth and us is to concentrate the effects of the other planets on the earth in succession as it flies around the circuit of the zodiac each 28 days. The moon acts as a sort of funnel for the other forces as it contacts each, or each combination in turn. Thus, the function of the moon is a different one from all the other planets, and I trust you will see how this corresponds with its nature of air of water. We now come to the last of the Sephiroth. This Sephiroth is called Malkuth, also called elemental earth. This Malkuth is thus not physical earth, although we are getting very close to physical earth. Malkuth is divided into 4 quarters, unlike the Sephiroth, and these quarters are air of earth, fire of earth, water of earth, and earth of earth. Elemental earth, this is all caps paragraph again. Elemental earth of elemental earth is the north quarter of elemental, not real north, but north quarter earth, and this is the quarter that you work with in the ritual, and of which more will be given as soon as this study of the Kabbalah is over. You can see readily that all things above, good things, do end in the elemental quarter of the north, and proceed from / through there onto your soul and your earth sphere. And now, do you see some reason, idea behind your ritual? Heck yeah. Thanks for breaking it down, Ophiel. Also, look again at your Sephiroth Earth. You can consider the whole tree a sort of reversed mirror image, as it were. And if you re-reverse the Sephiroth Malkuth, you will see the Earth of Earth becomes the North Quarter, and the other elemental quarters come into proper order, as in the ritual circle you are using, I hope. You have now covered a new conception of the Tree of Life. This new conception, together with the old one from Dion Fortune, should put you well on the way to a new, complete understanding of this part of the Kabbalah. I also trust this new understanding will open up a new conception of ideas as to how to use the Tree of Life and why it works the way it does. Now, for example, instead of just referring to Jupiter and wondering how you can make him work for you, you now know his inner nature, how he is water of fire, by inner nature and the effect that water has on fire. Contraction on expansion, controlled expansion, which is surely the nature of Jupiter. To digress a moment, when I was writing these lines, I was in Los Angeles, and, as is my custom, I dropped in at the Manly Hall Institute on Los Feliz Boulevard. Actually, that'd be Los Feliz Boulevard. My purpose was to give them a copy of the art and practice of getting material things through creative visualization for their library. They also usually have some, more or less, select second-hand books for sale. I found a little book called Ishmezerif, Purifying Fire. Ishmetzeref, Purifying Fire by Sapir Aud, which name was, as I understand it, the Latin motto name of when Westcott, an early well-known occultist. And I was glancing over the book, and as I was glancing over the book, I noted, on page 10, the following words. Job, chapter 37, verse 22, tells us that gold cometh from the north. Should we find out real quick? 1 second, guys. Let's find out real quick. Okay. Job, book of Job. And he says what? 37:22. Job 37:22. Where are you, Job? Oh, so close. Job 37. $22. That's the one he said, all right. Fair weather cometh out of the north. With God is terrible majesty. Touching the Almighty, we cannot find him out. He is excellent in power and in judgment and in plenty of justice. He will not afflict. Men do therefore fear him. He respecteth not any that are wise of heart. What the heck? That's not very nice. Let's say fair weather cometh out of the north. That doesn't say anything about gold cometh out of the north. Metaphorically, sure. Fair weather is gold. That much is for sure. sailor's delight. Beautiful, clear night. That's what they say. Okay. Now, here's a perfect example of occult trickery that has been used so much before. Job says gold comes from the north. And as this statement stands, now that the way the statement is absolutely meaningless. Now, as this statement stands, now that the way the statement is absolutely meaningless to the ordinary average person and is maddeningly meaningless to the beginning, sincere student of the occult. Well, this statement will always be meaningless to the average person and also to the occult student until he picks up more occult knowledge through meditation, contemplation, and intuitive inspiration. Breathe in, breathing air, movement, and so on. When, through the passage of time and study, the sincere occult student becomes more knowledgeable, he will pick up the missing occult shorthand necessary to fill out Job's statement, and Job's statement will then become gold value, comes from the elemental quarter of the elemental north. There is also a note that this gold in Job is translated fair weather. The nutty translators. Oh man, goodness gracious, no kidding, huh? I intended to do the complete final ritual, but I believe I will digress here a little and treat of the subject of happiness, plus what is called success or successful living. So see, there you go. Like I said, what did I say? Fair weather, yeah, well that's gold, sailor's delight, boom. But really, Ophiel already had us covered. Thanks, Ophiel. What we are looking for is happiness and or success. That is what all the original occult was for. Way back to the caveman witch doctor. They were seeking some power or powers to alter some physical circumstances so that they could become happy and attaining whatever it was that they were deficient in at the moment, and or what they imagined at the moment, and or what they imagined it was they needed to make them happy. And for that same reason, you, of course, are now studying / reading this book and my other books. I might go back a step and point out that there are two types of occult work in existence. One kind is the one I have been giving you, and which I call the practical occult. And the other kind of occult is one supposedly dedicated to illumination exclusively, whatever that means, and without regard for material things or for this mundane physical plane. I have always been repelled by this latter idea, as it has just not seemed sound to me to leave out any plane from consideration when working with or discussing the occult. Ophiel makes frequent trips to Los Angeles for pleasure and for business reasons. Ophiel likes to spend some time in a place called the Farmer's Market. Be sure and visit it when you are in Los Angeles. Every Christmas, there is stationed in the market a Salvation Army person, an elderly lady, to preside at a table collecting donations for the Salvation Army. I have become acquainted with her and have engaged her in frequent conversations about religion. They're still out there. I saw one just this last Christmas outside of the Walmart and had a conversation with him. He's a nice guy. In the course of one of these conversations, she accused me of being unhappy. I had to laugh at this accusation, but when I got to thinking about it, I began to realize what an elusive thing happiness really is to many people. Of course, to the Salvation Army person, happiness was absorption in her delusion. I think there is nothing that can make you happy. You have to be happy. Also, you have to think back over your life living and consider the events at one certain point in time and space, and then feel/think, I was happy then at that time and place. The happiness feeling, it seems to me, can only come at a later time when you can say, gee, I was happy that time and place, and you can rarely feel it, be it, at the time it is happening. Among people, students, etc., feeling a lack of happiness, or just not being happy or satisfied, is very often merely a lack of appreciation of your own achievements and of your own abilities. Watch yourself. When you do a good job, or indeed do any job fair, applaud yourself. Too often, we note a poor job or a failure, often not our fault, and feel bad about it, and then do not give ourselves a good feeling when one of our ideas succeeds, or appreciate our own attainments when they do succeed. How many of you are playing that game with yourself where you're sitting there counting up, tallying up the list of all the things you're doing wrong that you feel you're screwing up at? Letting yourself down, letting the people you love down. But how much do we really do that on the other end? Because I know I've had to consciously make that a practice, kind of only, let's say, over the last maybe 2-ish years now, where, and sometimes I'm better at it than others, but where I will sit and where I got it real good, is learning to count it on a mala, like a beaded mala necklace, as you recite all the things you were grateful for, or all the ways you have helped others in your life, that you have succeeded. Give it a shot. Go ahead, give it a shot. I promise you, that there's a whole lot of you out there who are convinced, just so convinced, that you're some kind of failure, some kind of awful, some kind of suck. And I'm sure maybe at times we all make mistakes, but even still, to put any of those on it is a little rough, you know. Even still, I wouldn't say any of those, call myself any of those other things. It's just instead, and we make mistakes, whatever, it's fine. But start taking the time to not just think, yeah, I feel good about, I've done some good things for people, I can feel good about that, but actually thinking of kind of each of those individual things, because it really will help. It really will help you to boost up in so many ways, because you're just amplifying the gratitude and the high vibrations, as they like to say. Okay, let's get back to this. Let's see, we read that one, didn't we? Yes, we did. As an ultimate assist to successful physical plan living, I wrote the book previously referred to, The Art and Practice of Getting Things, or Getting Material Things Through Creative Visualization, which I recommend to you, and I hope you will get and read/study if you have not already done so. In this referred to book is given and explained an occult and occult concept called the sphere of availability. Study the sphere of availability as I want you to understand that the same ideas prevail when it comes to success, happiness, ideas, and actions. And you can build up these concepts by each successful application of occult principles to success, happiness. But for God's sake, do remember that nothing on this physical plane works smooth and easy. Occult characters are developed by working with the reactory physical plane and mastering it, and not otherwise. The object of all this little digression is to urge you to use all means at your disposal to achieve your physical goals and not depend upon terrific occult development alone. I have often thought of a simile to a person's limping life, that of a gasoline engine of 6 cylinders, one of which is all fouled up and not working. Now, no matter how much you clean up the rest of the engine, and to what extent you increase the horsepower of the remaining cylinders, you're still going to be hampered by the fouled up cylinder, and every effort should be made to neutralize its fouledness. And carrying out this simile further, in the case of the gasoline engine, it would consist of examining to find what is wrong physically and then rebuilding it over, or even, in a severe case, cutting it out of the working engine by various physical means. Something similar as this should be done in our lives as we grow in the use of occult powers. I found my deficit in character and learned to live with it, which, in some cases, is all we can do, and corresponds to the neutralizing process described in the case of the physical gasoline engine. So go ahead, be happy. Nothing can make you happy. Follow all-time tried common sense rules along with your occult practices, and you should get along well. That's 2 really big asks for a lot of people right now, Ophiel. But not for this group, because you're all brilliant, you're all beautiful, you're all great, terrific, amazing, wonderful in every single way. And that concludes chapter 10. 11 next. Some more ritual knowledge. And I believe there's only one more chapter after that. So, here we are. We've done it. We've made it. Again on our own. Alright, well, sorry, it's off. I don't know. I heard something. Can't tell if it was wind or just, you never know. These old buildings, man. I'm building like they used to. Okay, so I will see you guys when I see you for 11. Probably soon. Probably right after this. I'm probably just gonna record it and put it up after this one. Why not? Because we're almost done with this one, and I'm eager to get this one over with, get on to the next. Because there's just too much knowledge and not enough time, as they say. But I do hope we succeed in our goals of using that time as best we can. How are you going to use it? It's a good question. It's a great question. The better question is, how aren't you going to use it? Well, is that the better question? It's just really those 2 questions you should ask yourself. Okay, ask yourself those questions, and we'll see you for chapter 11. So much love to you. This has been Jay Baldell. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Be sure to tell the people in your life that you love them. be sure to tell the people in your life that you don't like them. Don't be scared. Who cares? Just tell me, I don't really like you very much. Why not? Explain why. Okay. Well, what I'm explaining to you is how much I love you. I love you all. You're so great. I'm so happy to have you all here with me studying these secrets, forbidden topics, heathenry. All right, you guys. I love you so much. See you next time. Bye.